Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another Celtics Nation Rise recap. Tonight's game is this is not the result we wanted, and it's a little somber today because we lost 111 to 97. This was a tough one, I'm not going to lie. And we just couldn't shoot the ball. That's really the story of the game tonight. That's really what it came down to. And the 76ers did shoot the ball well. They went from shooting uncharacteristically bad to very, very good in this game. And that was really the reason for their win. But not to mention, I think physically, from a defensive standpoint, they played really, really well. So that was something that was big, and they just picked up the intensity of this game compared to last, and that was a key contributor. But as always, I'm joined by David Caires, Tommy Martinotti, and Carl McDonald. And guys, give me your first takeaway. David, take it away.
Yeah, I don't know what it is with this current era Celtics, but it seems like they are always due to lay an egg in a game 2 of a playoff series, and that's the case again tonight. Had a weird feeling something like this was going to happen all day, just given reasons that I think have been shared online. Where, as you just said, after they fought so bad in game 1 from deep, you figured there was no chance they were going to shoot that bad for a second straight game. They're just that good of a team, or that solid of a team shooting wise, that it wasn't going to happen again. And obviously they shot nearly 50% from 3, which is not sustainable. But for tonight, it worked for them. They went 19 of 39 from deep. And a lot of those looks were great looks, with Maxey getting a lot of separation, or them just running a simple pick at the top of the key and getting an open look. I'm sure there will be a lot of discourse tonight with topics about this drop coverage. And obviously that did not work out well for us tonight as Celtics fans. And for the Celtics period, that was very hard to watch. But just not the Celtics night. It's very tough to sweep teams. I did at least like how we played in spurts in this game. This was just a game of runs, though. We had a 16-0 run. It's hard to remember that now, but the Celtics had a 16-0 run in the first quarter of this game to go up by 13. But then Philly had a 12-2 run to respond, and then Philly ended the game on a 20-8 run. And, the Celtics had their opportunities in this one. We won the rebounding battle. We won the offensive board battle, but we just couldn't make it count. So we had our opportunities here, but, give credit to the Sixers. They did enough defensively and more than enough offensively to come in and flip home court advantage now. And it's going to be very interesting Friday night to see what happens. But we're heading to Philly tied 1-1.
Yeah, I thought a rough game from the whole team. I'm just looking at the stats. 13 of 50 from 3, and tonight felt a little bit like the Knicks game 1 and 2 from last year when the 3 isn't falling. They continue to shoot them, which is fine because I know that's their brand of basketball, but I feel like at times tonight they were settling for 3s when it really wasn't necessary. And Nikola Vucevic, I don't know if he's putting soap on his hands before the game or at halftime, but he has had a few plays in these first few games where the ball is just slipping out of his hands. I remember one play in the third quarter, Jaylen Brown went up and had some contact on a layup, missed the layup. Vooch had the rebound and pretty much had a layup, and then just loses the ball. It goes out on the Celtics, and it's Philly's ball. Just little plays like that where the Celtics felt like they could have gained some momentum. Small plays like that really killed them. I think Tatum didn't look as comfortable with the ball in his hands tonight, and I think he was another guy that settled a lot from 3 instead of kind of getting to the paint and getting easier looks for himself or, the guys that were on the court with him. So just really frustrating. And we talked about this after the game, after game 1, kind of we expected Philly to shoot the ball better, and they did. They shot 48% from 3, which, I'm not surprised that they shot better, but I don't think if you told me they were going to shoot 48%, I definitely wouldn't believe you. So that number is expected to drop moving forward, obviously. Just a rough game. Frustrating all the way around. I'm interested to see what happens with Garza and Vucevic moving into Game 3, if they stay with Vuce or if they give Garza a little bit more time to see what he can do, because we haven't gotten much from Vucevic through these first 2 games. So, I mean, we'll see. I think they're going to bounce back and at least get one in Philly, hopefully both, but we'll see.
Yeah, this is definitely a performance that that definitely, obviously was not as good as it could have been. Yeah, like David said, I also had a weird feeling that this game wasn't going to, turn in our favor, be in our favor, not just because of, what of course eventually happened, but even, individuals giving their predictions on what was supposed to be a game 2 win for us, Obviously, the three ball not falling in. Another thing, too, is, settling for the threes. Definitely, as Tommy said, is one of the better qualities of the Celtics. But there has to come a time where you have to be more comfortable in driving into the paint and accepting that contact and potentially getting your fouls in as well too, because that's just how the game should be played. Sometimes, if your three ball is not falling, then you convert. You find some other way to get your shots in and really help out your team on the offensive end. This is a game that we really have to look at and really have to understand and take in so that we can get prepared for this third game that is now going back into Philly. And I would really hope this is a game that they can eventually, bounce back from and win this series again in 5 games at least, because you don't want this team, having to face off this team in later games and possibly have a Joel Embiid who, although still is coming from the appendicitis issue, could still come back and even reduced minutes could still be productive and a difference maker for the Sixers moving forward. So definitely a major stinker for us that I'm not too worried about, but at the same time, you have to be as cautious as possible because you had the advantage, but you may lose as quickly as you want.
Do you guys want to talk about the drop coverage and kind of thoughts on that? Because I thought in the first half, like, I just don't think against great shooting guards that drop coverage is the best defense to play. It felt like I was watching the 2022 finals all over again when we were playing drop coverage and the best shooter of all time. And he torched us all series, and especially early on in that series. And we saw similar tonight. To me, when you're playing drop coverage, you want to take away the roller. And to me, Andre Drummond and Bona aren't guys that you have to worry too much about being a lob threat and hurting you too much in the paint. I rather them run Maxi off the 3-point line and make him see bodies and feel uncomfortable rather than him and Edgecombe. I feel like they had their way all night. They had so much space to work with off that 3-point line into the mid-range game where it looked too easy for them. You weren't making them force any turnovers. You weren't able to run in transition. They were able to score and get their defense set. So I just hated to see the drop coverage and no adjustments, but I think Missoula will kind of hopefully get out of that drop coverage moving into game 3 and 4.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you, Tom, and I do think defensively in the first matchup, game 1, we did a very good job of not really going drop coverage and showing bodies at Maxi and making him uncomfortable, making him play out of it. But I will say that last game, the 76ers weren't hitting anything. In this game, they were hitting a lot of shots, definitely early on in the game. So it was hard. It's hard. Like the Celtics had to stay home a little more. So now you are a little worried about the pick and roll because you can't really. It's harder to tag up, and now rotations are behind. But I still would have rather us rely on rotations in the backside and just get contests. Like that's what I would have preferred rather than just kind of saying, "Oh, lay to Maxi" and just dare him to shoot the ball. Like that's not a guy we want shooting the ball like that. So I'd rather die by someone else than die by Maxi. And tonight it felt like we died by Maxi. But yeah, anyone else have any thoughts about drop coverage? Because I think it was definitely an interesting decision, and it was something that I didn't like us going to, but I also thought I don't know. I just think tonight they were just slicing us up. Like no matter what we were going, they seemed like they had an answer and they came prepared with a new style. And they also had really good spacing in this game. Like really, really good spacing. It was harder to be up in gaps and kind of jab at Maxi. But what do you have, David? Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I'm the same. Where didn't love seeing the drop coverage tonight. Like I just came across a screenshot on Twitter of one of this drop coverage plays on Maxi, and it just looks putrid how far away the defenders are from him. Obviously, that didn't help matters. I think a lot of tonight too. I think what you were alluding to, Andrew, is just the fact that they were hitting some very highly contested threes as well. Like Paul George in the corner felt like hit a few. VJ Edgecombe as well. So I don't think the drop coverage helped matters at all. It did seem like, though, it was just sort of the law of relatives to me, at least averaging out, where the Sixers were going to hit a crazy amount of threes tonight to make up for the crazy amount of threes they missed. Or not crazy amount of threes they missed, but the crazy low shooting percentage they had from deep in game one was almost a guarantee to be raised in game two. So I think that I'm hoping that this was just their magnet ball game that every team seems to be destined to have these days in the NBA in this playoff series. But obviously, yeah, like running drop coverage, it didn't help. But I mean, give credit to the Sixers as well. They also had a plethora of very tough 3-point shots, but the Celtics weren't doing themselves any favors with their defensive breakdowns at times.
Yeah, it was like night and day defensively from the Celtics, in my opinion, from the first game and the second game. To me, it just felt like level of intensity was down, the attention to detail wasn't entirely there. It just felt like they did not come prepared, or the 76ers did a very good job at preparing for what the Celtics were showing them. And they had a nice little counter, a little jab back and kind of played into their schemes. Like I thought a little too offensively, the 76ers. What do you guys think? Offensively, do you think they kind of slowed the pace down just a little at times, like getting that ball to Paul George in the post and like being a little more composed and kind of making sure to get to the right action, like get into the right action where the Celtics were not. Like I felt like they did a better job in that capacity as well.
I mean, they just got into their call actions, offense, whatever, and the Celtics weren't able to turn them over, which I think the Celtics did a really good job of in game one. And when you shoot 48% from three, that's obviously going to put you in a great position to win a game on the road. To go back to what David alluded to on last week's podcast, Derek White, 3 for 12 from the field, 2 of 10 from three, a guy that we are going to rely on heavily for this playoff run to make open shots, which most of his shots that he took tonight were open. I would probably say 8 of the 10 threes he took were open threes. He had 2 later in the shot clock that, you don't expect to always go in, but most of his looks I feel like are good looks, and he's just not knocking them down. I think his defense is still at an all-NBA level, but for us to be where we want to be by the end of this playoff run, we're going to need Derek White to up his shooting percentage and have some bigger games offensively. Same with Pritchard, too. Pritchard was another guy that we were heavy on, talking about his inconsistency, and we didn't see much of Pritchard tonight offensively, only 4 points, 2 of 8 from the field, 0 of 4 from three. So I guess, as a team, just putrid shooting from three, and I just want to see them be more aggressive and get to the paint and get to that mid-range game and get easier looks when the three isn't falling instead of kind of just settling for contested or deep threes early on the shot clock.
Yeah, and I think they did that, to be honest, like earlier in the game. I thought Jaylen Brown was getting to the paint and like making really, really good decisions, and they were knocking down shots. I remember a key play that sticks out in my brain is when Caires set that little flare screen to the corner for Sam Hauser, knocked down that shot. I mean, they were just moving off ball a lot better in that first quarter. And then from there, it just kind of slowed down. I don't know. I don't really understand like why their offensive possessions became so much more lazy and kind of just one pass, one shot. It just felt like there was a lack of consistency on that offensive end, and it shows through this lead tracker. But David, if you want to take that away.
For sure. So as you can see, it was a lot of green early on, and probably those first like 15 minutes of the game, and then the last 33 minutes of this game, it was all red. So first quarter, Celtics would win it 28-25. As I talked about earlier, the Celtics had a 16-0 run in this quarter, go up 26-13, but Philly ended the quarter on a 12-2 run to draw within 3. Then we go to the second quarter, and for me, this is the quarter that won the game for Philly. As you can see, this is a very big margin of victory to win a quarter in a playoff game, specifically 11. Sixers dropped 37 points in this quarter compared to the Celtics 26. The Philly hit 8 of their 19 threes specifically in the second quarter, compared to Boston just hitting 1 three-pointer in this frame. And that 1 3-pointer the Celtics hit was the very first shot we took of that quarter. That was the Shireman 3-pointer. So they really dominated us in that margin. And then the other margin too, Andrew, you were talking about us slowing down a lot, and the Sixers also slowing down their offense at times as well, but getting more effective looks. The Sixers turned it up in this quarter, and they got 24 shots in the second quarter alone, compared to the Celtics only getting 19 up. So they won the 3-point scoring margin, and they won the field goal attempt margin. So they were controlling the pace of the game heading into the half.
Yeah, and a big factor of that too was just, turnovers and just like giving them offensive possessions, extra offensive possessions in that game. In that, I think in that quarter specifically, there was a lot that
4 turnovers from the Celtics.
4 turnovers in that second quarter, right? Yeah, that's bad. And you open up the floodgates and you give them open looks and you let them get on transition, and they get this lead, and now you're crawling back and trying to scrape away, and you're on your toe and on your heels. Like it's a tough game, especially in a playoff environment. So yeah, we got to take better of the ball, I thought, tonight. Even though we only had 11, like still some careless turnovers that we just should not have had.
And Celtics would head into the half here down 62-54. They'd win the third quarter by 1 point, 23-22. We'll get into this a little bit later when we go into Celtics stats, but Jaylen Brown had a big quarter in this quarter to bring us closer. And the Celtics defense, I thought, did a decent job in this quarter, tightening up their defense, forcing 3 turnovers in the frame. But Philly was able to maintain their halftime lead. Then in the fourth quarter, Philly would win that quarter 27-20, obviously winning the game by a final score, as you can see below, 111-97. Questionable 3-point shots from Boston, in my opinion, as we talked about a lot of early shot clock threes, just like right when you think we're getting right back into it, we're down 2-4 points, and we're just taking a ill-advised shot, giving the ball back to Philly. Obviously, Tyrese Maxey would have a very big quarter here, as he had a great game. He would have a very good quarter here in the fourth quarter to pull away, have the Philadelphia 76ers pull away, and just some undisciplined basketball continued from the Celtics, and Tyrese Maxey taking over for Philly, as I just said, all would encapsulate in Philly ending the game on a 20-8 run, winning this game handedly. So that's the quarters here. One fun breakdown, I always got to do this, is that the Celtics had 67 field goal attempts after 3 quarters. So we were 27 of 6-7.
Oh.
Even in a loss, I got to have fun with it. So
for sure, yeah. Listen, we talked. Nick Nurse talked about it last game. Let's not overreact. Let's not make too much of this game, and it's the same way for this game as well. Like, this happens. You're gonna have lulls. You're gonna lose games. It's in an 82 regular game season. Are you gonna drop a game? Maybe 2. Yeah, it's gonna happen. And tonight, obviously, they did. But from a stats perspective, like the Celtics were pretty dominant. It's just the shooting. It's blaring right there. It's the shooting and the turnovers that gave them extra possessions, and even offensive rebounding. They did really, really well, and they crashed the glass. I thought that was a highlight of this Celtics game, and I almost thought that was going to be a deciding factor in this game if the Celtics were going to pull out a win. It was all right, we did crash the glass and we did find ways to get a few extra possessions here and there. But even with those extra possessions, second chance points wise, they didn't even capitalize on those extra possessions. So it's just it just was not the Celtics game tonight overall. But Carl, if you want to take away the stats from the Celtics and the players, which also was not the Celtics night.
Absolutely. Thank you, Andrew. Yeah, so of course, as we talked about, Jaylen Brown having a pretty big game here. He puts up 36 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, a steal, and a block on 46% in shooting. Then you have Jason Tatum ending the game with a near triple double of 19 points, 14 rebounds, 9 assists on 42% in shooting. Your third best player being Vucevic, 9 points, 5 rebounds, assists on over 42% in shooting. And as we also talked about earlier, Peyton Pritchard and Derek White not playing their best games. Both of them 25% in shooting, or Peyton Pritchard hitting 4 points, and he also had 5 rebounds and 5 assists. Derek White had 8 points, 2 rebounds, and 3 assists. Then we're looking at Sam Hauser here, who also was 25% in shooting. He had 6 points, and Neemias Queta, 8 points, 6 rebounds on 75% in shooting. And that's pretty much the Celtics' stats. Of course, in a loss here with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown trying to rally and lead this team as much as possible. But unfortunately, the role players within this team aren't able to step up in the way that they need to, especially on the offensive end, something that is the biggest story within this Game 2 loss.
Yeah, and my apologies on the rebound stats. It should be 50-42 for the Celtics, so my apologies. But yeah, I mean, this was a tough one, and Jaylen Brown, I mean, he did everything he possibly could tonight to kind of help give us a win. I mean, it was definitely on his back tonight. He just couldn't contribute, but it's guys like we said, Derek White. It's guys like even Queta, even Pritchard that just did not perform, did not shoot very, very well tonight, and that was a big factor in this game. But I'm gonna bring this back real quick and continue this conversation. I think I think this game was tough. I think it was definitely something that I think we just got honestly, I think we got outworked tonight. Like, that's my opinion. Like, I really just think the 76ers wanted it more tonight. I think they defended us very, very aggressively. I think they created chaos on that end and just forced the Celtics into bad shots, into possessions they just didn't want to have. And the 76ers were just basically telling the Celtics, you're not going to get what you want tonight. And that was kind of, in my opinion, the story. But for you guys, what do you think about this game and kind of your takeaways moving forward as we go into Game 2 in the next couple of days?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much already been said, but we need someone else to step up outside of Brown and Tatum. I mean, Brown and Tatum were the only ones today really scoring. They had 55 of our 97 points, and no one else cracked double digits. It looked like Vooch could get there after a strong first score, but then after that, the wheels fell off. So we need to do better with that. We need someone else to step up besides those two. Obviously, limit the 3-point scoring. Defensively, yeah, I think I didn't have. I would say of the 53s we took, I was probably happy with 30 to 35 of them, and I'm interested. I may end up doing like a short clip for the channel tomorrow, but I'm interested to see what the tracking data is for our 3-point quality tonight. I wonder how many of our looks were considered open according to the NBA.com advanced stats, because I've always, even through the train wreck that was games 1 and games 2 last year against the Knicks shooting the 3 ball, I'm always of the idea where if you have an open look, you have to shoot it. If it doesn't go in, you live with it, but you have to keep shooting open looks. So I'm intrigued to see where that is tomorrow. But really the most interesting thing to me is with this series shifting back to Philadelphia is if Joel Embiid is going to be available for Game 3. Obviously, he's continuing his rehab from appendicitis, and it seems like there could be a chance he's ready for Game 3. And you know, whether it's a fully conditioned or not fully conditioned Joel Embiid, I mean, having him part of the series, I think changes a lot of things potentially. So that's something I'm looking out for. But you know, I have the utmost faith in the Celtics being able to be ready to go on Friday, and I don't expect the Sixers to shoot this well again from three, but we still gotta make it happen and put in the effort.
And David said most of it. A few things that I'll add on is I'm interested to see what happens with Garza or Vucevic. Will they continue to go with Vucevic coming off the bench for Queta, or will they kind of give Garza a few more minutes and see what he can produce for you if Queta is in foul trouble, or just, when Queta isn't in the game. And maybe to see different lineups, maybe to see a smaller lineup possibly to space the floor more offensively and create more lanes offensively for guys like Tatum and Brown to get downhill and get into the paint. And we need Derek White and Pritchard to step up and give us more offensively. David already said it. I don't expect Philly to continue to shoot in the high 40s from three, and I don't expect us to shoot 13 of 50. What David said about kind of the open threes, I do think a lot of them were quote unquote open threes. The issue that I had was the kind of time and score situation where we would go on a 5-0, 6-0 run, creep into within 4 points, and Tatum would come down and shoot, not one pass with 17, 16 on the shot clock, would shoot kind of a deep three. And I get it. The momentum is kind of going on our side, and it's a semi-heat check, but I'd rather him get to the paint and get to his mid-range game, draw a foul, dump it down to Queta, kick it out for a three. So I would love to see those advanced stats from three, David, if you can find those. But it's more of the time and score situation with the early shots in the shot clock more than, them being open or not, in my opinion, because a lot of them are open and a lot of them are threes that those guys can make, and it just wasn't their night shooting, and it was Philly's night shooting, and that's why you see the score the way it is.
I think the biggest takeaway for this game is that the Celtics have to stop, I guess, going into the mentality that they're playing against a team that they can easily beat. Like, hey, we've gone ahead and we've blown out, this team before. We just did it, a couple of days ago. And, this is something that they have been guilty of for the past few seasons. They did it with Miami. They did it with the Knicks. They've done it, many times. And this is one of those cases where, they've done that and they have to get out of that mindset by, of course, changing up their game, being more comfortable to, get those shots, within the paint, within the lane, going into the open lane, and all this and that. Along with that, just being able to, again, as Tommy and David talked about, and you, Andrew, as well, too, just changing up whatever they need to change up as, they're playing these games. If something's not working, move on to the next thing. And don't just find yourself in a position where, now you're relying on something that has worked for you, but isn't working for you in that instance, mainly that three ball. And I also do agree with you, David, when it comes to open threes, we should be able to take those. Yes, they're not all going to go in, but at the same time, it definitely is better to take them when you had the chance to do so than just forcing one up. And of course, too, as we talked about, or as you guys talked about too, it can't just be Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown leading. Derek White is the third option for a reason. Vucevic, I would love to see a little bit more from him on the offensive end, and even a little bit more in rebounding. Peyton Pritchard, there's a reason why he is the reigning sixth man of the year. So definitely we should see a bit more from him. We should see similar production from those guys in the same way that we saw Sam Hauser being productive in the first game. This is something that has to be a collective team effort, and it can't just be the main Jays or the Jays doing, all of the work. Sure, for the most part, they're going to lead us in this series and in the next, and have done so with every single playoff series and every single playoff match that they've had. But they need help. They need to be able to have that opportunity to just win games and do so with their team rallying behind them and supporting them as best as possible. This is definitely something that I'm not like too worried about where, oh, the world is ending because we lost game 2. I still firmly believe that we can win game 3 and any other game afterwards, but I don't want it to get to a point where we don't learn from this experience and allow for the Sixers to now keep their momentum and further their momentum as they are going back home to compete again alongside us in their backyard. We got to clean this up, but at the same time, I don't think it's something we should worry about too much. As long as they learn from this experience, then we should be fine.
Yeah, this is interesting to me, and I want to bring this up just real quick, and I don't want to go too deep into it. But John Zanis and Sherrod Bakley are talking on Celtics CLNS, and I just saw this. They were talking about, hey, this is a game where you could have used Anthony Simons to come off the bench and give you scoring production. And at this point in time, Vucevic is not panning out. And we did not have that bench production today from Pritchard. I know, obviously that's different because we do have Pritchard coming off the bench and all that, but just another guy that can score. I think we try to make Derek White into this scoring piece. Not really that guy. I don't know, something interesting and just something to think about. But I also just think tonight, like we need extra bench production, or not bench production, but we just need someone else scoring, because tonight, if you match up our top 3 scorers against the Sixers' top 3 scorers with Edgecombe, Maxey, George, and then Tatum Brown. And it's just like, who else are we relying on? Sixers have that. We don't. And that's something that you guys all talked about. So I'm not going to sit on it too long. Another thing, Joe Mazzulla said it in the press conference. When you lose a quarter by 11 points in the playoffs, you're really shooting yourself in the foot, and that's gonna be a tough game to win. So it's another thing that Joe Mazzulla said that I take away from this. And then finally, I just wanted to see a little bit of a better defensive effort, better defense technically, from a technical standpoint, and just being a little more of a fist and glued together on that end. But we all see it. They shot, I mean, the shit out of the ball. They did not miss tonight, and that's going to happen. But the Celtics are going to live by that 3. They're going to live by that game plan. And what Joe Mazzulla hopes and what the Celtics hope is that by the end of the series, that these games, they level out and the shooting and all that works itself out, and the Celtics win by that game plan. I don't think it's going to change. I just don't think it's going to change. But do you guys have anything else before we close out? No, all set. All right. Sounds good. Well, thank you guys for watching another Celtics Nation Rise recap. Not the one we wanted to have tonight, but that's okay. This series is still going. The Celtics are still going to bounce back, and the 76ers had an uncharacteristic night from beyond the arc. So hopefully the scales balance out. But thank you again for watching. Like and subscribe for more content. Hopefully, knock on wood, but this is going to be happening for the entire playoffs. So make sure you follow us because we're giving you content daily. Thank you so much for watching. Peace.
See you.